So talk to me a little about, because you are one of the, in fact, not one of the few, you're the first person I heard speak consistently about servant leadership. Because I had been raised in a culture where hero leadership is the food we were fed. As a consequence, my first life in any leadership position, I was actually more a manager than a leader. I would bark instructions, I would remind people of who I am because I got lost in the role versus the responsibility. And having spent this rich time with you, you've sensitized me to the role of a leader as a servant of the people who follow you, as opposed to a leader as the person who must be idolized by the people who follow. Would you just care to expand on the difference between hero and servant leadership and why servant leadership appeals to you?
Yes, I believe that to lead is to serve. So leaders are servants in the first instance. What I have learned is that people respond better to love than to fear. So my philosophy has always been, before you can ask for a hand, you need to touch a heart. And the way in which you touch a heart is by caring about people and by being willing to serve them. And if you serve them, then you take your relationship with your people to a new level. And they become more engaged, more committed, more enthusiastic. Then one tends to see the acceptance of co-responsibility. One sees evidence of syndicated leadership. If you serve your people, then you will earn influence. Autocratic leaders demand respect. Servant leaders earn respect and influence. Autocratic leaders, they just get to the point where there's reluctant compliance. There's no sense of belonging. There's no real commitment. Whereas in the case of a servant leader, people get to the point where they volunteer their intelligence and their energy and their loyalty and their contribution and their commitment. And the inevitable consequence of them getting to that point is that they deliver fantastic results because they want to, because they respect their leader, they trust their leader, they have confidence in their leader, and they even love and admire their leader. So, should serving be below you, then leadership may just be beyond you.
Wow.
To lead is indeed to serve.
I just got goosebumps when you said that if serving is below you, then leading is beyond you. Oh my word. Oh my word. You know, if you were in church, I would have said amen to the brother in the back. If I were near you, I really would have just high-fived you. I'm like, this is the content I'm here for, as the young ones say. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the day Mandela returned your money, because it had me chuckling in the book. Do you care to tell the story?
Yes, so in the run-up to the first democratic election, I think it was in 1993, we received a phone call from Mr. Mandela, and I was at Toyota at the time, and he requested an audience with us. So we invited him to lunch, and he came to Toyota, and we had a wonderful lunch. But then, right towards the end of this very, very pleasant lunch that I'll never forget, he said, the first democratic election is on the horizon. He's sure that we would like to see a successful outcome and a fair election. And then he said the ANC cannot really compete on equal terms because it was a liberation movement, not a political party, and he didn't have money for or sufficient money for its election campaign. And he said he compiled a list of 10 progressive, large South African companies. Toyota was on that list, and that was why he was there. And he was requesting us to donate 1 million rand in the interests of a free and fair election, and to put the ANC in a position to campaign vigorously. So we said, Mr. Mandela, we respect you greatly. We hear what you've said. We will give it some thought, your request, and we will revert to you. So we then convened a special board meeting at Toyota. And Bert Wessels and I shared what Mr. Mandela requested us with the rest of the board. So it was a complicated situation because at Toyota's factory down in Durban, at that time, we employed about 6,000 people, and the majority of them being Zulus and IFP supporters. And we had over 300 dealers all over the country. So we said, what should we do? So to cut a long story short, we decided that we would donate 500,000 to the ANC and split the balance between the other parties. So I was tasked to inform Mr. Mandela's office that they were about to receive a check amounting to 500,000 rand. And way back in 1993, that was quite a lot of money. The crux of this story is that Mr. Mandela returned our check amounting to 500,000 rand. And he said, it's not about the money, it's about the principle. He asked us to support the principle of fairness. And because we only went halfway in terms of the money he requested, it's clear that we are not supporting him with conviction. And that was it. We got our 500,000 rand back. So Mr. Mandela, in my opinion, he was the most principled leader I had the privilege of knowing. And he taught us a lesson a lesson that I will certainly never forget. So the academics talk about moral intelligence. Your moral intelligence informs your conscience. It acts as your moral compass. It tells you what is right and what is wrong.
Yes.
And ever since that day, whenever I have to make a difficult decision, I always revisit the principles I believe in. And I anchor my decisions and my behavior in those timeless principles of consistency, integrity, fairness, justice, compassion. And Mr. Mandela, he taught all of us such a vital, such an important lesson. Many years ago, I put together my own personal code of conduct. It took me a couple of hours, and it happened in the early hours of the morning.
Yes.
Where I started talking to myself, so to speak.
Yes.
And I said, Bron, put on a piece of paper the principles and values you believe in and stand for. Give definition to those principles and values. And then sign that piece of paper and keep it with you or close to you. And use that personal code of conduct as a guiding light. And I must say, today it's the piece of paper has a few coffee stains. It's rather crumpled.
Yeah.
Doesn't look as nice as it used to. But it was such a good investment of my time because we live in difficult times and temptations are everywhere. And it is just, in my opinion, imperative that we should anchor our decisions and our behavior in the right principles.
Oh, that is fantastic. You've given us so much homework, just the things to reflect on, the things to do, but also the things to unlearn. Before I let you go, because I could keep you here for hours, but I won't, because I think Tilly also deserves a lot of your time. Please, because you speak so richly in the book about the support you've received, either from your family, your colleagues, friends you've made in the industry, and people that you have connected with over time. Can you give us some guidance on just how do you decide on who to keep in your team, whether in the world of work or just across life? What characteristics do you look for? What is your decision making and assessment process?
Yes, I don't want to pretend for 1 second that that I always apply a very formal list of criteria, because that would be presumptuous. I don't want to. I'm not even entitled to judge. However, if I think about the people who are close to me and the people I appreciate and the people I care about,
Yes.
We do share the same values. I think should there not be an alignment of values, then the quality of the relationship will suffer. The sustainability of the relationship won't be there. So an alignment of principles and values, and then I enjoy being with people whom I can learn from, people who inspire me, people who don't indulge in toxic conversations or what I call downward spiral speaking.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that, that I just talk to naive optimists,
Yeah.
but I enjoy associating with people who have a balanced outlook on life and people who can enrich me and serve as a source of inspiration. And one has to be deliberate about it, because otherwise you could become part of a circle of friends, and should their value system not be in line with what is right, your own life can go terribly wrong. So it's not a matter of discriminating, but it's a matter of trusting your intuition and making sure that the people you interface with as your friends, that they can just strengthen your own platform and serve as a source of motivation and inspiration. And that's a key reason why I value my friendship with you, because that is exactly what you do.
You make me cry, but because I've got waterproof mascara, so I'm not going to look like a mess today. It's just an incredible honor and delight to get to just spend time in your presence and to carry you in my heart as a friend. And everything you have shared today, just the generosity of your spirit, the compassion with which you attend to things that are difficult, and just your openness with what is real, but also what is possible, are all these magical nuggets that I have had the joy and the privilege of enjoying in our private interactions. And to be able to share this with the world fills me with just absolute glee. So before I let you go, will you please tell people where they can get a copy of your book and where they can get hold of you? Because I know that a lot of business people listening are going to say, where do we find him? We want some of his magic. So please tell me so I can tell them where they can find this book and also where they can find you.
So firstly, the book. I need to sort of emphasize that the book is rather old, because I wrote it way back in 2012 and it was published in February 2013. So it used to be a bestseller in the business category, but I'm talking about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but it is still available from NB Publishers, and exclusive books, if they don't have it in stock, will order it. Or the other way is to visit my website, and it's just www.brandpretorius.com. And there is a separate section dealing with my book, And there's also a contact facility. So I get many inquiries through my website. So that would be my recommendation. That would be the easiest way to get the book and to get hold of me.
Fantastic. And if ever they see us together in public, they mustn't monopolize your time, because I also want to find 2 minutes of your energies.
No, you are too kind, Sizakele. In the motor industry, one gets a new model and then a second-hand model,
Yeah.
and then a discontinued model.
Yeah.
So I'm now in the discontinued category.
I would disagree. I'd call you the vintage category.
No, I'm in the discontinued category. So.
But thank you so, so much for your time today, Brian. Please send all my love to Tilly. I hope to be able to see you too as soon as COVID allows us to gather and to clink glasses and celebrate this gift called life. But on behalf of all the people who will listen on to our conversation in the future, I just want to thank you from the deepest part of my heart. And I wish you continued long life and just continued health. And we, as South Africans who are invested in this country and are determined to see it become better, we're indebted to leaders such as yourselves who continue to just hold the light and steer us home. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
No, thank you, Sizakele. Thank you for the honor and the privilege for creating this opportunity. And we spoke about hope. So Mr. Mandela, in his book, A Long Walk to Freedom, he described hope as follows. He said, hope is life itself. So we must keep hope alive. And because I admire her so much, Helen Keller, who was both deaf and blind and who made such an impact on the world, she said, hope sees the invisible, and hope feels the intangible, and hope achieves the impossible. And many of us, when we look at the realities of South Africa, we sometimes think we aren't going to make it. But I want to say, hope achieves the impossible. So you are a beacon of hope. You influence people positively. You inspire. You're a role model. So in many ways, you've joined hands with me and many other South Africans in keeping hope alive, and not only that, but also to do hope and to make a contribution to the very, very best of our ability. So thank you for setting such a great example also from that point of view.
I'm going to go before the snot and throttle, but thank you. Thank you, Brian. And I will speak to you soon.
Yeah, and have a lovely, lovely evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.